Hello everyone, welcome to the case study again. So today we're going to talk about DDoS attack, which is based on Internet of Things and the target at a company called Dyn, D-Y-N, and that happens in 2016. Here are some standard disclaimers. The victim hasn't publicly released all the detail of the incidents and probably will never do so, but enough information exists online and within the cybersecurity community to piece together what likely happened during the incidents. Auto care has been taken to ensure accuracy of the information provided. The presenter assumed no responsibility, therefore, the presenter also assumed no responsibilities for the consequence of using such information. So overall, this case study was adapted from a DDoS attack through IoT devices on Dyn DNS company in 2016. So the latest cyber attack on the Dyn, it's a company, it's a DNS company which provide DNS services. That attack actually bring down half of the internet, particularly East Coast. This one here tells you more. You see the website affected by this DDoS attack are Twitter, Amazon, CNN, Reddit, and New York Times, PayPal, Spotify, SoundCloud, Airbnb, HBO, Netflix, GitHub, a whole list, a long list of DDoS attack. And that happens on that Friday, on October 21st, on that Friday. And I think people mentioned about there are 3 different waves of attacks. And who are they? Why they are? There are millions of. Look at this Twitter. Dyn says millions of devices has been connected to the Internet of Things in a short time. Even DVRs could be involved. Well, those are the information we get when it's first happening. But now we start knowing more. So we'll look into more about what really happens. So this screenshot, basically illustrate what happened, the severity of the problem. You can see almost entire East Coast, the internet was burned down. That means how many attacking traffic with the red stuff. You can also see like the California, the East Coast are the area causing most of the issue. Now, exactly what happens, there are many different theories who did attack, particularly in the context of presidential election. If you remember, October 21st with the WikiLeaks, so there's many different theories. But now, after all this passed, we can start getting more idea of what really happens. This is a screenshot from WikiLeaks. It's talking about just ask them to stop, bring down. So whatever. But let's go back. Let's just forget all the politics things, all those stuff. Let's go back to the technical things. This course will focus on the technical issue. Now, this attack actually represent a new way, a new trend of launching DDoS attack. Remember what I said in the past. In the past, if you want to launch a DDoS attack, you have to get a whole bunch of zombie machine to form a botnet, a whole bunch of compromised machine. Now, this time, the hacker changed the way. Instead of hacking into the compromised machine, this time the hacker target at Internet of Things device, IoT device. Now I know again, many students don't have technical background to talking about what is Internet of Things, but I bet everybody probably heard of Internet of Things, right? IoT devices. Okay, now there's really nothing special about Internet of Things. Okay, Internet of Things is just Internet of computer. Okay, nowadays you have computer being connected on the internet. So all these computers, cell phones, smart devices, they become Internet of computing devices. If you expand this concept a little bit, how about some smart devices being connected to the internet? That become Internet of Things. Give you example, web camera. Anyone use web camera? Anyone of you use web camera? Okay. Traditional web camera, you basically have to plug into the computer and start communication. Now, actually, if you go out to the internet, you'll find out there's a lot of smart web camera, which they have a very small computing device built in that web camera. So this web camera don't have to plug in the computer. They can be standalone. Okay, so this is the web camera. They usually have a Ethernet jack or some just wireless connection. Okay, allows you just to connect directly with the internet. Then you, on this web camera, you can configure where you want to monitor, where you want to send this image to. All this example, just trying to illustrate what is Internet of Things and why people want it. You can see there's huge demand. Okay, Internet of Things is actually next hot area, probably within the, because smartphone we already see it's reached the peak. Okay, smartphone it's already reaching the peak. PC is dead. Smartphone reached the peak. So the next big thing would be some people will say it's Internet of Things. Some people will say it's virtual reality. But it could be next hot thing. Okay. But there's one big problem, which is security. Okay. Imagine when we have internet, have computer connected, we already have so many problems. Now, if we connect all this Internet of Things together, there's even more issues. Okay. One of the biggest issue is configuration. Okay. A lot of this Internet of Things equipment, they have hard-coded default password because they are not like a computer. Okay, they are relatively a little bit hard to configure. You have to connect to the internet, then open the web browser to actually connect it, configure it. Now, for those of you who ever configure a Cisco router at home or some kind of wireless router, anyone configure a wireless router at home? Everyone should have a wireless network at home. You either configure yourself or you have some technician help you to configure it. But for those people who configure the wireless router at home, you probably know what I'm talking about. You connect to the internet, then you use web browser to start doing all kinds of configuration. The same procedure happens here. Okay, it's not very easy to configure it. Particularly, a lot of people are using default password. Particularly for a lot of low-cost Internet of Things devices. Okay, a very sad news is there's almost no security standard on Internet of Things. Okay, there are some, but it's basically up to the manufacturer, up to the vendor. But it considers the competitions. Okay, the competition in the Internet of Things device. So a lot of low-cost, cheap Internet of Things on the market, and they are doing very, very bad job in terms of security. And also considering the people who purchase this equipment, they probably are not very trained either. Okay. Now, what happened is behind this DDoS attack is something called a virus called Miravirus. The Miravirus are linked directly to this DDoS attack. So what happened is about 500,000 of low-price web camera made by a specific company are involved in this DDoS attack. Okay? The problem is those low-cost web camera, they are using a default password. That default password is on their user manual, which is root. The password is this. What even makes things worse is most users don't know or don't care to change that default password. They think, well, this is just Internet of Things, okay, just a web camera. I don't bother to do more configuration. They just plug it in. It works. Once it works, they are happy. They forget or don't know how to change the default password. So they leave the default password there. Remember, there's 500,000 of these web cameras. That's essentially talking about more than 500,000 users. A lot of them just don't know how to change it. Okay? Now, the hacker taking advantage of this. So Mira is a virus on Internet of Things. Okay? What Mira does, it will run on this Internet of Things device. It's just a C code, very simple C code. Okay? It will start testing some default password. Okay? It's not difficult. The hacker actually collect a list of default password from all the Internet of Things manufacturers, because you can easily get those default password. Okay? And you start testing, try one by one, try one by one. And then what makes things even more interesting, the source code of Mira is actually available. The people actually release the source code. Let's take a look at the source code here. Okay, this is actually Mira botnet. Okay, if for those of you who are interested, you can actually take a look at the source code. It's just plain C code. Okay, research revealed that 15% of home router use weak password, and 20% of them have telnet port open. Okay, just think about 15% of the home routers are using default or weak password. That basically means the hacker could hack into your home computer. Okay, same thing here. The web cameras, the Internet of Things. I don't have statistic data here, but I can imagine maybe a large percentage of them are using default password. People forget or don't know how to change the default password. Okay, that causing huge issue. Okay, so what happened in this DDoS, Mira virus? It's basically this Miravirus. Okay, it will start from the hacker's computer, running there, and start doing the scanning. Okay, start scanning on the internet, trying to find out if there are any open web cameras. Because every web camera, they have their own IP address. You just do this type of scanning. Okay, it's actually not hard because different web cameras are using different ports. Okay, you just testing on a specific ports, you'll be able to know whether this camera are open. Okay, once you know this camera are open, then you just try with this default password and a username. And if it works, then you successfully recruit a web camera. That is basically a zombie machine, right? It's actually easier to recruit a zombie web camera than recruiting a zombie PC. Okay? And what makes things even worse is, as I said, people who install the web camera, they have very little idea about security. When it comes to your personal computer,
You probably install all kinds of antivirus software, install all kinds of things trying to protect your PC. But about this web camera, okay, very people know very little about it. They just plug it in. And now, since the hacker, and the other daunting factor is the number of this kind of web camera, because this web camera is so cheap. It's $100. Okay, probably many different companies, they buy just 10 or 20 of them, put in different places. Okay, in this case here, the hacker easily recruit more than 500,000 web cameras. Okay, this is not a real technical issue. There's some technical issue involved, but this is really a human factor. For the manufacturers, okay, a lot of companies, they try to lower the cost so they can produce some cheap web cameras, cheap stuff, okay? But of course, you will sacrifice product quality and sacrifice security. Probably security is the number one thing you want to sacrifice if you try to lower the cost, okay? On the user side, the users are not very well trained, okay? They just buy some cheap product and install that and misconfigure that, okay? And all these things combined together become this DDoS attack, okay? So this really just ring alarm for us, okay? Don't think DDoS attack is dead. It's not dead, okay? The hacker inventing something even more daunting, considering everybody nowadays are using Internet of Things, and we are actually seeing more and more. And actually, a lot of these Internet of Things devices are used by inexperienced users, okay? They have very little training on security. And some very simple misconfiguration would causing huge impact on this.
Okay, so now it's the end of this case study. Here I list some additional resources you can take a look. Like the first one is talking about the IoT and the Mira, and we can also get some source code from different resources. Okay, thanks, bye.